In the not-too-distant future, Todd discovers Viola, a mysterious girl who crash lands on this planet where all the women have disappeared and the men are afflicted by the noise, a force that puts all their thoughts on display. In this dangerous landscape, Viola's life is threatened, and as Todd vows to protect her, he will have to discover his own inner power and unlock the planet's dark secrets. Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new early movie review, and today we are discussing the new action sci-fi film by the name of Chaos Walking, which will be coming to theaters this Friday, March 5th. Now, I got the chance to see it early courtesy of Lionsgate, and I'm going to let you all know what I thought of the film and if you all should be excited for it in this spoiler-free review. Before we dive into it, as you can see on the screen now, make sure you all are following me on all my other social media accounts, which you can find those links in the description below. If you are new to the channel, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing to the channel, and while you all are at it, make sure you hit that notification bell. That way you can get the alert for when I drop new content. It will mean a lot to me if you all can like and share this review. It helps out the channel a lot, but I also appreciate all the support. And in the comments below, let me know if Chaos Walking was a film you all were excited to check out. And of course, once you've seen the film, let's talk about it. Let me know some of the things you like, some of the things you didn't like, and let's have a discussion about it in the comments below. So for you all that do not know about Chaos Walking in regards to the production of this film, we thought New Mutants had it rough, but man, Chaos Walking was a chaos of a production. The film was shot all the way back in 2017. It was supposed to come out in 2019. I mean, it was plagued with delays and just reshoots after reshoots. But here we are, March 5th. It will be available to check out, and I got a chance to see it. What did I think about it? Starting off with my positives. First and foremost, we have Daisy Ridley. We have Tom Holland, two actors I'm a fan of. I love where they're going with their careers. They were kind of thrown in the fire with, Star Wars, MCU and Spider-Man, and they're trying to somewhat break out of that mold of like, we can do other films. You have Daisy Ridley, who did a Murder on Orient Express a couple years ago. You have Tom Holland diving into Devil All the Time, Cherry, so on and so forth. So they're trying to break that mold of like, hey, we're more than just the blockbuster superstars. We can do some sci-fi, some dramas. And I gotta say, I say all that to say this, the characters in the film. We're talking about Tom Holland as Todd. I believe in the book, I haven't read the book. This film is based off of a trilogy of books. I believe the character that he's playing, Todd, is 13 years old in the book, and he's not 13 in this film by all means. But in this script, which we'll talk about the script a little bit later, I think me as a critic, I like the actors in the role, but I didn't necessarily like the characters that they were playing. And I think that goes to testament to the charm and the charisma and just the likability factor of the two actors, at least for me, that they were not necessarily... Their performance was fine. I don't think there was nothing that was bad about the performance. I don't think there was anything great about the performance, but they were fine because it's Tom Holland, it's Daisy Ridley. I like these people, not the characters so much, but I think, again, it speaks to their charisma, their off-screen persona that kind of helped me get through this film, which we'll talk about getting through this film a little bit later. So positively speaking, the actors, I like you guys, so I like what you were able to do with the lack of stuff that was given to you with those characters. I got to give a shout out to the animals. I've never said this in a review before, at least that I can remember. The animals in this film were pretty great, in particularly the horses that were used in this film. I hope there were no horses hurt during the making of this film, because there's some horses that go through a lot in this movie. So shout out to the horses and whoever trained the horses. And also shout out to Tom Holland's little dog in this film. It starts with the M. I can't think of the dog's name, but the dog was great. I'm a dog lover. I have my dog over there. We were watching the film together. I'm like, oh man, this dog is pretty awesome. And there's something later in the film that I'm just like, oh man, I love this dog. And I thought the dog was great. That just kind of shows you there's not a lot of good things to say if you're talking about the animals. But outside of those things, man, I'm a sci-fi fanatic. I love me a good sci-fi concept. Again, this is based on novels, and we'll talk about just the idea here, the idea of this being in the distant future. I believe it took place in 2257. We're on another planet where there are no women. They're the men that are left on this planet. You can see their thoughts. It's called the noise. So I like the concept of the noise and how certain people in the film, like Mads Mikkelsen, how he was able to manipulate the noise and kind of do certain things that other people weren't able to do. I thought that was cool. And speaking of Mads Mikkelsen, he was a very traditional certain character in this film, but I like Mads Mikkelsen. Again, it goes back to my Daisy Ridley, Tom Holland comment. Mads Mikkelsen, Cynthia Erivo, Demián Bichir. I like these actors, and I thought that they did what they could with this script that we'll talk about. So again, Performances were fine across the board. No one did a terrible job, but it just these characters weren't that great. Let's just transition into it, because I'm really just pulling stuff out of my ass now in regards to the positives. This is a mess. This is a film that I can see why it's 4 years that it took this film to come out, and why it was known to have multiple reshoots, because the test screenings were very poor, and I can see that. This felt like a film that was just so incomplete. There were concepts, there were characters, there were developments of like relationships that just weren't explained. I don't want to get into spoiler territory, and if you've seen the trailer, there's a shot in the trailer where there's an alien on this planet, and the scene involving the alien, the singular alien, it just speaks to the lack of depth. It speaks to the lack of development in the script. And once you see the film, if you dare see the movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to the alien. The secret that everyone's talking about, that I read in Synopsis, that you can see in the trailer, the secret is very obvious when you see the film. It wasn't much of a mystery for me, which is kind of like a pop in the balloons. Like, the film really kind of builds up to this moment that I already kind of knew just based on the trailer alone. So that reveal, trash. When it comes to other things about this film, we have a director that I'm a fan of, a very competent, very capable director in Doug Liman. I think of, mid-90s swingers, early 2000s with The Bourne Identity. You transition to Mr. and Mrs. Smith. You go into, recently with Edge of Tomorrow, well, I should say 7 years ago, Edge of Tomorrow, as well as, the film he did with Tom Cruise, American Made. He's a good director. But this film, and then just a couple months ago with that HBO Max film, Lockdown, I don't know what's going on with Doug Liman. Can someone find him? Like, he just seems... The way I felt about Doug Liman directing this film is the same way I felt about Kenneth Branagh directing Artemis Fowl. Like, I don't even know what Doug Liman was doing in the direction chair. Like, this doesn't feel like a Doug Liman film at all. It felt like this is like he was, I don't know, the noise of him was directing this film. He wasn't directing it. It was his mind that was directing it. His mind was all over the place with this film. Which, speaking of the noise, again, I like the concept of... You can see the men's thoughts, and you can see what they're thinking, and you can manipulate the noise. All that stuff is cool in concept. The execution of the noise was very annoying. It was like apparent that I didn't like the noise concept. I didn't like the execution of noise within like the first 5 minutes of the film. And it's an hour, it's almost 2 hours of just hearing characters just spewing out the dumbest things. Like, I know what I think in my head. I don't talk like that in my head. The way to like dog, hurt, pain, alien, like the way Tom Holland and all the men in the movie, the way that they were, their inner thoughts, their noise was coming out was just really poorly executed. I feel like a child wrote those lines when those moments happen. This film makes no sense in regards to the narrative, in regards to getting from point A to point B. We have Tom Holland, who has to protect Daisy Ridley to... I don't want to spoil too much, but she has to do something to communicate to some other people. And just that idea... Mickelsen in the mix, Cynthia Erivo, who I am such a fan of. She's literally in the movie for like 0.3 seconds, and her situation and what goes on there was just, again, this film just feels so incomplete. It's based on a book, and I felt like the writers and the director, which I believe one of the writers of the film was actually one of the writers, if not the creator of the book, it just felt like either when you see this film, you know what I'm talking about. This film feels like either it was a bunch of stuff left on a cutting room floor when they were editing this movie, or they just didn't know how to translate what was going on in 3 books, and they maybe crushed it or like bunched it into this one movie. It's a bad movie. This movie, to me, is After Earth meets The Passengers, meets all the terrible stuff in the Divergent film. This is a bad sci-fi action film. Even my 2 actors I really love, not even 2, I love this entire cast. Everyone in this movie I'm a fan of. Nick Jonas, I even liked him in Jumanji Next Level. He was terrible in this movie. He was the one actor, I will say, I mentioned earlier that I thought all the actors did a good job. He was terrible in this film. But again, Tom Holland, Daisy Ridley, Cynthia Erivo, Mads Mikkelsen, Demián Bichir, all talented, capable, Oscar-winning type of actors. They couldn't save this film. So with that being said, let me just wrap this thing up. I'm ranting at this point. This film isn't good. It's only available, to my knowledge, in theaters only on March 5th. I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money. I'm not going to tell you how to spend your time. But if it was me, I wouldn't recommend seeing this in the theaters. At the very best, maybe wait till this is available on streaming platforms, whether it be Netflix or Hulu, whoever buys it first. Check it out then. But paying money to see it, I'm not going to say what you do with your money, but I wouldn't say that's a good advice to go see this in theaters. But that's just my opinion. With that being said, I'm going to give Chaos Walking Whew, a 1.5 out of 5. This was a bad film. It's very poorly structured. The execution is lacking. The direction, Doug Liman, what were you doing? The script is bad. These characters are so one-dimensional that they're underdeveloped. There's not a lot going on for this film. It's a bad movie, in my opinion, but it's just my thoughts. Let me know what you all thought of Chaos Walking. I thought it was a chaos of a film, but that's just me. Let me know your pros, your cons. Let's have a discussion about this film if you get a chance to check it out when it comes to theaters, or if you're watching this 6 months later when it's on streaming. Let me know your thoughts on this film in the comment section. As always, make sure to like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell. That way you can get the alert when I drop new early reviews like this. So thank you all for watching this review. I'm going to be watching Raya and the Dark Dragon, or The Last Dragon. Fingers crossed that I chose to watch the bad movie first, and I'm going to get a good appetizer or a good dessert with Raya and the Last Dragon. Fingers crossed. But thank you all for watching this review, and we'll see you on the next video.